Just days after the Democratic National Convention, polls show a tighter race between the Trump and Harris camps, while the issues that matter most to voters are starting to come into focus, including crucial foreign policy decisions at a time of sweeping uncertainty, especially in the Middle East. 3 years after the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal and Taliban takeover, there has still been no accountability for the 13 deaths of U.S. soldiers as Afghanistan remains on the edge of a deeper international crisis. And joining us now to discuss this and more is our Washington insider, Armstrong Williams. Good morning to you, sir. Great to see you back from Chicago and the DNC. Great reporting for us there. First, talk about, Armstrong, the ramifications to these Gold Star families who lost their loved ones, and now 3 years later, they still do not have any answers. Why hasn't anyone in the Biden-Harris administration been held accountable?
Well, we were devoid of a fundamental understanding of Afghanistan, Jan. We spent $145 billion over 20 years. A lot of that money led to corruption, confiscating our weapons. Our timelines were atrocious. We did not have the sustainability to keep the troops there. And then we did not have a coherent strategy on what on what we really wanted to achieve. And so we're like in the Wild Wild West, in a territory that we were unfamiliar with, and we were totally exploited and taken advantage of. And it was very embarrassing, and Americans lost their lives in the process.
How important will our defense forces and military strength be as an issue for voters in the upcoming election?
Well, we've already seen the propaganda that Iran and others are trying to perpetrate on our elections. So election security, immigration is a huge foreign issue. They really believe that we have terrorist cells on our soil waiting to be ignited. You got China, Southeast and South Asia. You got Russia. You got the growing conflict in Israel. And so Americans are very concerned about the stability of the world, given the fact that America remains the lone superpower.
Now that the DNC is over, we are starting to see a bit of a shift in the polls. You know, when you hear the Harris camp talk, you'd think Trump had been the president for the past 4 years, as much as they mention his name. What do you think about this tactic from the Harris camp? Will they eventually have to talk about the issues?
Listen, the bump that she expected, she did not get. And what it forces her to do now is to reevaluate her strategy on her first interview on August 25th, whether there will be more debates, because the polls just show, you just showed nationally, 49 to 46. It cannot be ignored. She has to acquit herself on policy. The fact is, they have occupied the White House 12 out of the last 16 years. It is their policies on immigration, on foreign policy, on the economy, on inflation, on jobs, that has Americans in a panic. And until she acquits herself, whether she's going to move towards the center or whether she's going to continue the progressive policies of the Biden administration, even go further, until Americans are secure that she is the person to lead them in the future, because they could care less about her agenda, anything else. They want to know what are her bona fides and what she has done and what she's accomplished and how she plans to accomplish it in the future for we the people, putting Americans first for a change, not last.
Still hard to believe that the election is just 70 days away. Armstrong, what are you keeping a close eye on, and what concerns you most in this election cycle when it comes to national security with this lame duck Congress and president?
I think, Jane, the thing that we're not talking about enough is that what is it that the poor continue to have to gain by supporting Democratic policies? I mean, we can start with Lyndon Baines Johnson. Poverty is worse now than it was during the 60s. And whether you're going to embrace Donald Trump's policy of the free market and more deregulation, or you're going to embrace Harris's policies of more government intervention, more welfare, and encouraging people to get freebies, because we realize that eventually someone has to pay for that, and it contributes to the rise of inflation and people losing their way of life. And so it's your vision of America. What America do you want? One driven by freebies, or one driven by not only work ethic and discipline of what would sustain this great nation of ours for decades or centuries to come?
Washington insider Armstrong Williams, always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. Happy Monday. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Yes.